is with visuals, because you can discriminate sounds in a different way. And Time Slides Fail was a piece that I wanted to explore, environmental noise pollution, which is something that we're looking at in our workshop, which you should come to this afternoon in Bix and then in a boat. I'll plug it again later. So Time Slides Fail was, again, playing with time as well. I recorded the sound of Brussels on a walkthrough after Belgium had won a game in the World Cup last year. And then I took the recording to Berlin and exhibited this in Berlin on a night when Germany was also playing in the World Cup, in a incredibly quiet square. And so you had this hidden recording in one of the trees in the square, with, the sounds of jubilant Belgians beeping their horns and screaming in the streets. And it was actually, what was most interesting for me was the way that, people would walk past and sometimes they'd be a bit, confused. And obviously all the people coming to the gallery knew what was going on. But the cyclists, when the cyclists were cycling through that square, every time they heard a car, they'd be like this, and because there was a total disjuncture between what they thought was around them and then, the noise that they're very sensitive to, which is a car revving, which, if you cycle in London, as I have, means death, pretty much. So that was quite interesting, and another way of kind of trying to connect with these invisible things that are going on around us. And I'm not going to show you the Time Slides video because I'm a bit worried about time myself. So just to talk a little bit about some work that is now happening and ongoing. This is like some experimentation that I was doing earlier this year at PIF Camp in Socha, and it was with Mark DeCilia, and we're looking at different ways to look at what's inside plants. And in fact, Gino and I have been playing with this over the last few days as well. But so different, I'm going back to my chemistry background and playing with lots of chemicals again, different DIY techniques for analysing, in this case, nitrates and chlorophyll in different plants. And it's a kind of exploration that will hopefully lead to a mobile laboratory, actually, yes, and food experience that's trying to draw in data that we gather that kind of helps us to understand what's going on in food, and then also to kind of feed that into something that's much more experiential. So, reduce it down so that we understand it a bit more, and then feed that knowledge back in to something that's very physical, very embodied, so that we can really explore, but with knowledge from the data that we've gathered, to explore the essences. I don't want to use the word essence because I don't mean it in a particularly platonic way, but the fundamentals of how our bodies interact with the environment around us. So that's that. And in a similar vein, the work that we're doing here, I wanted to mention, as I said, Gina and I have been playing around with a bit of chemistry also, and making lots of smells in upstairs in Bix, and we'll be doing some more of that later, playing with some seaweed and water and looking for microplastics. And the idea that I want to realise with that is to make a prototype of something that tries to allow us to really kind of engage with what's in the water, the microplastics and the oils and all of the anthropogenic sounds in the water, but engage with it from the perspective of a creature that lives in the water. And for that, I mean, I was super excited when I found out that there were coral reefs along the side of Norway. And, you know, coral is quite an exciting organism. For me, I think the thing that I find really interesting about it is the fact that in some ways, if you look at the scale, corals kind of construct their environment and affect their environment in a similar way to the way that humans do. You know, they build and sculpt and create and then build on top of each other's buildings in the same way that, you know, if you dig down in London, you get layers and layers of people's buildings from, you know, the 900 AD kind of thing. And yet, the way that corals perceive and the way that they respond to stimuli is completely different to us. And so I found out from one of the scientists at the Marine Institute here that when corals are subject to low-frequency sound over a long period, they start to produce mucus. So that's a little bit of information that, along with the recordings that we make and the experiments that we do, I'm going to be using to create a feel-like coral helmet prototype, which I know it doesn't look like much now, but just wait until Sunday. It's probably still going to look like that, but inside it's going to be amazing. So, well, no promises. But if you want to come and help me make it, please come and help me make it on Saturday. It will be super fun. I've got all kinds of materials. I'm going to get some smells, maybe find some herbs and stuff to put into it. And we can really play around with senses and trying to translate what it must be like to be a coral in these waters into a human readable experience. So that's that, and I wondered how much time I've got, because I have got more, but I can stop here, and it kind of is nice and rounded. Yeah, okay, perfect. Good.
And some questions, maybe for the close of the session.
How do you make the process to break down the organic matter from the algae?
Well, so we did some experiments with that, and Gina, you have to jump in if I say anything or if I miss anything out. But yeah, so we're using iron as a catalyst, and we're using hydrogen peroxide, and well, we did some experiments. We also tried Vanish, you know, for the oxygen, yeah, and we tried Ajax, a gel floor cleaner version of Ajax, and yeah, it makes some delightful smells and lots of foam, but it's breaking things down quite well. So I think we're doing the hydrogen peroxide one, and we're also doing a mixture of Vanish and Ajax, which, as you can imagine, is quite potent. And then, you know, you leave it for a while because it's quite reactive, and then you heat it up for a little bit. And I don't know, you haven't seen it this morning, Gino, whether it's all gone.
Yeah, the idea is to completely destroy organic matter, and then only inorganic particles and plastics will remain, and we are going to use the salt solution to separate what sinks and what floats. Floating thingies are the plastics, and we are going to measure it very fine with microscopes.
Come and smell it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask how this smells. Does smell?
Oh, yeah. Acrid, I think, is the word. You were at the other end of the room. Good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it smells of strawberries down your end of the room.
Can you make strawberry smell from
From the algae? Now that would be something. What do you think? Can we engineer some algae to smell like strawberries?
Actually, there are strawberries with plastics. They have found there are a lot. In many places, they have dumps outside, and the plastics pulverize.
Yeah.
And then goes carried by the wind, and they start to find microplastics in many corn and food from the ground.
And it's taken up through the roots, or it's layered on the outside. Yeah, yeah.
It's actually, the flower covers the plastic, so you can sometimes you find inside the fruits.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only a seed problem.
Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah.
And the problem is they have this plastic bisphenol A. So the problem is when they start to break down the reproductive system of many organisms.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not nice, and we can't metabolize them.
No, the thing is actually they break down they mimics hormones.
Yeah.
They start to break down many ecosystems.
Hmm.
But maybe at least we can have smell of strawberries for these dirty waters.
The strawberries
Maybe.
and the pineapple.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And
So, just to finish on a more positive note. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. It was very inspiring seminar. Thank you, Maite, for organizing. It's extremely interesting. Thank you.
Well, I just say for those of you that are a bit more new at the festival, or maybe you don't know the schedule very well, so I'm going just to. Today we have, the Pixel exhibition is going in these 5 venues that we have. It's like Austen, downstairs, S12, the basement, Bart, and also